10 o'clock. How about that?
Okay, is it? Yep. It's 10 a.m. and I will call the St. John's River Water Management District Governing Board meeting to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. I will take a roll call. Chair Bradley were unable to attend. My name is Miriam Giabi White. Cole Oliver. Here. Chris Peterson. Here. Ryan Atwood. Doug Bernick. Here. Doug Burnett. Here. Mr. Ron House is running a few minutes late. I believe he let Mr. Register know that he's going to be here in a few minutes. Ms. Janet Price. Here. Thank you, and we have quorum. So item number 1, Robin Hudson, you're recognized to present. Item number 1, the Employee Award. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Robin Hudson, Human Resources Director. I'd like to present our Employee of the Month. Congratulations to Rebecca Ramey, the September Employee of the Month. Rebecca is a Chemist 2 in the Bureau of Water Resource Information. She is recognized for her technical expertise, versatility, teamwork, and commitment to upholding the district's core values. One of the hallmarks of a successful lab is having staff who can perform multiple tasks in both primary and backup roles. Rebecca has recently demonstrated the capability to perform 12 analytical tasks, including total dissolved solids, alkalinity, conductivity, and pH, among others. Following the resignation of a lab technician, Rebecca volunteered to come in early to assist with sample check-ins, ensuring the lab stayed on schedule. Rebecca is often praised by colleagues for her patience and thoroughness when training staff, troubleshooting issues, and providing technical support. Congratulations, Rebecca. A 15-year service award to Emily Delosier, Regulatory Hydrologist 4 in the Bureau of Water Use Regulation. Emily is responsible for reviewing complex consumptive use permit applications and performing permit compliance and enforcement. She is recognized for her dedication, expertise, positive energy, and exceptional work ethic. She is known for her expertise in consumptive use permit review and compliance, serving as both a trusted mentor and professional resource on complex issues. Emily has played a pivotal role in regional initiatives, including the Central Florida Water Initiative and Silver Springs Rules, while also supporting inter-district coordination, water supply planning, groundwater modeling, and MFL coordination. Her collaborative spirit extends across bureaus, IT, and partner agencies, where her insights are frequently sought out. Honored in the Women in STEM initiative and as Employee of the Month, Emily exemplifies commitment to the district's mission. Thank you, Emily, and congratulations. A 25-year service award for Brian Emanuel, Bureau Chief, Bureau of Land Resources. Brian manages a diverse, driven, and experienced team who are caretakers for nearly 435,000 acres of conservation land managed by the district. Brian is known to be driven by a strong work ethic and passion for the district's natural resources. The Bureau of Land Resources functions as a well-oiled machine and is a reflection of Brian's technical excellence, leadership capabilities, sense of humor, and humility. Through his breadth of ecological knowledge and land management experience, he finds ways to connect with individuals and turns them into teammates. In recognition of his excellent mentoring skills, he received a District Excellence in Supervision Award. Brian's work was also recognized with the Employee of the Year Award. Brian is a true team player. His staff leave it all on the line for him, which is a testimony of how much they respect him. Brian, thank you and congratulations for 25 years of service to the district. Thank you.
Robin, and thank each of you for your dedicated service to the district. Moving on to item number 2, I will ask the board members to consider governing board items recommended on the consent agenda, items 11 through 24. Do any board members wish to pull any items for discussions? Okay. I hear none. Ms. Winkler, do we have any public comment cards?
Not on those items.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do we have a motion for item number 11 through 24? Thank you. If no other discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 3. Tim Miller, you're recognized to present item number 3 on your hydrologic condition report. Boy, we are getting a lot of rain.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Keeps coming.
Yeah.
That can be a good thing. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Governing Board. I'm Tim Miller, Bureau Chief of the Bureau of Water Resource Information, presenting the September Hydrologic Conditions Report representing data from the month of August. Beginning first with rainfall, precipitation in August was highly varied across the district, resulting primarily from convective thunderstorms typical for this time of year. As you can see on the map, high rainfall amounts were received along the eastern seaboard in the north, the I-4 corridor near the central part of the district, and western portions of southern counties. In several locations, that meant more than 13 inches of rain through the month. In contrast, counties to the west and northwest received less. The average total across the district was just over a half an inch above the district-wide monthly average of 7 inches. 11 of 18 counties were above normal in August, but 5 counties to the northwest were more than an inch below their monthly averages. Countywide average rainfall totals ranged from a high of nearly 11 inches for Osceola County to a low of 5.16 inches for Alachua County. Next, in reviewing rainfall over the past 12 months, the district-wide annual rainfall total is nearly 2 inches above the annual average of 51 inches. Rainfall distribution on an annual scale continues to have been higher in central counties through the year, while we see that areas along the southern coast and to the northwest have received less. 9 counties are above normal, with 5 counties more than 5 inches above their annual averages. This includes Seminole and Volusia counties, which are more than 11 inches above average. Of the 9 counties below their 12-month averages, 3 counties were more than 7 inches below normal, and that includes Baker, Alachua, and Bradford counties. Countywide totals range from the lowest value of 42.29 inches for Bradford County to the highest value of 64.3 inches for Volusia County, which is more than 13 inches above average. Moving on to surface flows, here are the monthly mean surface flows as compared to historical statistics through August. Surface flows at the majority of sites remained in the normal range for this time of year, while flows in the St. Mary's River to the north remained in the low range. One change observed was at the tidally influenced site at the St. John's at Jacksonville location to the north, which moved from the normal into the low range. Flows at this location were reduced in part by seasonally high tide events known as king tides. These began in August and will continue monthly through November, especially around the full moon, which is what we're experiencing right now. And that, coupled with the tidal extremes, influence was also observed from Hurricane Erin, which, although it was well offshore, impacted the Florida coast for nearly a week with significant swell from the east and northeast. In general, flows have remained on trend with rainfall amounts. In the next series of slides, we'll review the status of water levels at selected long-term lake sites. Lake levels have had a mixture of increases and decreases through the month. And looking first at Lake Brooklyn, the water level decreased by nearly a foot from the previous month, but remains above average. Lake Weir recorded a slight increase in August, continuing to be below the average water level. Water level at Lake Winnemaset had a slight decrease and remains above the average level for this time of year. Lake Apopka's level increased 0.2 of a foot from the previous month and is above its average level, but at regulation schedule. And water level in Blue Cypress Lake had an increase of 0.3 of a foot in August. Levels are just above average at this location and in accordance with its regulation schedule. Water levels across the upper Floridan aquifer primarily increased in August, as did the proportion of the district in the normal range. As indicated on the map by the purple triangles, 14 sites recorded increases of 10 or more percentile points, particularly at locations along eastern portions of the district. Movement from the low into the normal range was observed in St. Johns County, and the area in the high range, indicated in blue along the northern Brevard County border, expanded further this month. Areas of low and very low conditions persisted in parts of Duval and St. Johns counties, although increases of greater than 10 percentile points were recorded in some of those areas. Overall, the majority of the district remains in a positive position regarding groundwater. Next, in looking at the district-wide index value for aquifer conditions, we see the upper Floridan aquifer well index value at the end of August was 44, remaining in the normal range. And as a reminder, this is shown as a percentile, which accounts for seasonal differences that are observed in the aquifer through the year, and the index indicates we're doing well relative to this time of year. In the next series of slides, I review changes in flow at selected spring sites with long-term monitoring. As you'll see, changes in flow were mixed. The monthly mean for flow in Silver Springs increased 27 cubic feet per second from the previous monthly mean. And although an increase was observed, flow is near the top of the low range for this time of year. At Blue Spring, the monthly mean showed a decrease of 10 cubic feet per second in August, ending the month in the high range. Ongoing construction activities at the spring continue to have had intermittent impacts on velocity meter readings, and the USGS has consistently conducted site visits to ensure the collection of accurate data, and as such, these provisional data seen here may see further adjustment in the future as they work through their quality assurance process. At Rock Springs, flow had a slight increase from the previous monthly mean and is in the normal range. A slight increase in flow was also observed at the monthly mean at Wekiwa Springs. Flow continues to be in the normal range for this time of the year. And finally, the well plugging program completed the abandonment of 11 wells in August. And through these efforts, the abandonment of those wells provided an additional savings of over 1.7 million gallons per day. And that brings the total saved by this program since November 2020 to just over 91 million gallons of water saved each day. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any question for Tim? Yes, sir.
A question, and you may not be able to answer it today, but for the future, it'd be kind of interesting. The slide, a couple slides ago, that has the upper Floridian aquifer, and we have kind of the, I don't know the proper way to say the ratio, the percent change.
The percentiles through the month? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the different months and how it drops and stuff. It'd be interesting to know, like, how high are we compared to, like, the low range, right? Like, are we 20% higher than that? Or are we 25%? Because there was nothing on the axis, if we look at it, that kind of tells you, like, you know, so something maybe that'd be interesting for the future, just to see that.
Sure.
Thank you. Tim, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you have any, do you see similarity between those 9 counties that are over the average that you were mentioning?
Similarities in terms of they've been consistently in the areas that have been hit by rainfall over the past year, obviously, since that's our annual totals. And through that I-4 corridor, it seems to have been something that I've been saying here in the board meetings over the past year and a half. It just seems like that's a spot where, particularly Volusia County area, right in that zone, has been hit ever since, Milton, of course, had that. And then prior to that, we also had storms that provided a lot of rainfall. It seems to be that's where the fronts may be stalling out when we get frontal boundaries that come through, and then we get our convective thunder showers in the afternoon that move that way.
Have you heard of, I know you don't have that report, any flooding?
At the moment, I have not heard of flooding that's taking place. I mean, I did observe driving up here yesterday, just the roadside from rainfall that was very recent. But, to note is what the National Weather Service provided for coastal flooding instances with these high tide events, the king tides that we get in the fall. during the full moon, we get a higher chance. And if we get onshore flow during those times, for example, strong northeast winds or swell like we got from Hurricane Erin, it can exacerbate those conditions.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Great report as always. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 4, Mr. Dale Jenkins, you're recognized to present item number 4, and informational, only for information. Informational, it's an update on construction progress for the Black Creek water, a very important project for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning. Good morning to the rest of the board members. I'm here to give you the last update since last month. So this is the progress we've done on the Black Creek project since I talked to you last month. We're getting there. Overall construction, overall project completion is at 97%, and that's just restricted to the water treatment facility. The pipeline and the pump station and intake, of course, are all done. Some of the things that happened last month is we're about 70% complete of getting media into cell 4. That should be done by the end of this month, and following that, we'll be putting the plants in. So by first week or so of October, we should be ready to start rinsing the media in cell number 4. We're also placing stone, all the stone is in place in cells number 5 and 6. You can see a representation of that photograph in the lower center right. And all the piping is complete in cells 5 and 6 also. So pretty soon, by the end of September, all that stone will be in cells 5 and 6, and that will be ready also for media. So once cell 4 is done, we'll keep moving on. And as long as the media comes in, it's kind of on schedule right now. They're hitting their targets every month. We'll be able to start moving media into cell 5 after cell 4. Some electrical work still remains to be done at the treatment facility related to things like lightning surge protection. That's kind of important. We get a lot of lightning here, so we like to keep all the operations of the systems running, that they don't get blanked out. And our SCADA system, we're also putting that together. That's getting close. We've got some minor tweaks to that, and the SCADA system will allow us to operate the entire system fully and remotely, so that's very important also. Last week we did some testing of the pumps because we're getting close, to completing the project. So we did some testing of the pumps. We found out that one of the pumps is not working very well, so that's a warranty item, and we need to get the contractor out to the pump manufacturer to take a look at that. He's scheduled to come out next week. Hopefully it's not a major issue, but if it is, it's a warranty item, so we'll get that resolved. Lastly, we're also looking at enhancements to our erosion and energy dissipation down at the outfall location. We think it's a good idea at this point to take a look at that and make sure that it'll control any erosion or turbidity issues that may occur in the future when we're operating at full capacity. So that's about all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question for Dale. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Dale, good morning.
Good morning.
On these cells, as this structure ages, as we all know, with be it water farming or a more intensive type of structure like this, eventually a facility reaches its maturity for what it can and can't do. Is there a cycle at which you would dry these out and refurbish them and or just desiccate them to where they can, be good kidneys again?
Very good question, Mr. Bornick. And yes, so it's actually a good thing. As the board may recall that when we get when the Black Creek flow is 25 CFS or less, we don't pump. And that allows these, over the course of a year, that allows this media to kind of rest and extend its life. You may also recall that when we did our pilot testing, that the life of this media is expected to be anywhere from 7 to 13 years. So the actual time that it relaxes or rests could extend that life even further. And the actual media replacement, when we do need to replace media, that's built into the operations and maintenance costs.
And how do you, when you take this media, is it completely spent? Or do you do you treat it somehow and put it back in? Do you know how they do that?
It would be a total replacement when that time comes,
replacement.
sometime in the 7 to 13 years. But, again, if we get those typical dry spells where we can't pump from Black Creek,
Right.
that helps extend the life even further. So, it's good to pump, but it's also good to rest a little bit too.
Yeah, in agriculture, we know to do that on a routine basis, just to extend the life of a soil or whatever we're dealing with. So good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Thank you, Dale. Great
Thank you.
report.
Thanks.
So moving on to item number 5, Jeremy Olson and Mike Register are recognized to present item number 5, an informational briefing on training, safety, and partnership associated with the prescribed fire program.
Yep. All right. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Jeremy Olson and serve as Program Manager in the Bureau of Land Resources. I'll be presenting on our prescribed fire program with information requested during last month's meeting. In this presentation, I'll touch on the fire activity that we saw in August, as well as discuss the PPE, or personal protective equipment and safety, fire training and cooperation that we incorporate into our fire program. And then at the end, Mike Register will touch on staffing. So starting with our fire data dashboard, this is what we use to track our progress through the year. On the left, you can see a map showing triangles. The orange triangles are prescribed fires. The bigger the triangle, the bigger the fire. Something new we added this month is the wildfires as well. And so you can see those red triangles. Thankfully, they have stayed small. We've had 26 prescribed fires that we've conducted for 26,544 acres, and 24 wildfires that we've had to deal with that added up to 1,845 acres. On the right, you can see the cumulative acres per year with this year in red. Notice that towards the end of the year, it kind of trails off. We get most of our acres in the late dormant season or late winter, early spring, and this year is no different. Jumping to this slide, you can see the bars or the acres per month. See that we had a lot of acres in February and April. For August, we had 500 acres of prescribed fire at Sunny Hill Restoration Area in Marion County. And then you can barely see the little red there. That's a wildfire, 4 acres at Hart Island Conservation Area in Volusia County. So jumping to PPE, we follow the National Wildfire Coordinating Group guidelines for PPE on the fire line. This includes all staff need to wear a helmet, eye protection, fire-resistant clothing. That's normally Nomex that we wear, gloves, specialized boots, fire shelters, and radios. And so the picture on the right is some of our cooperators on a burn at Lochloosa Wildlife Conservation Area wearing that full get-up. Notice they're wearing backpacks, so beyond this normal equipment, we oftentimes carry water, food, things like that, since we might be away from our equipment at times on these fires. Specific to smoke impacts, with prescribed fires, we have the advantage that we're able to plan these burns ahead of times versus a wildfire, and so we really look for conditions that minimize those impacts. One of the ways we do that is carefully picking the weather with dispersion levels that are good, and that's the ability for the atmosphere to have air moving vertically. A good example of that is the picture on the right, where you can see that smoke plume is kind of getting up and out, and so that is a predictable parameter in the forecast that we really look for and burn on those days when those conditions allow. We also use natural breaks when possible, and so burning towards lakes, rivers, swamps, things that are fireproof in a sense, and so having those features downwind of our planned burn, it's really working smarter, not harder. It makes it a lot easier on us to contain these burns, and also keeps our crews out of the smoke. Recent burns downwind serve that same purpose, and so if we do conduct a burn, say 500 acres in the middle of an area, we can then push other burns towards that recent burn, and it's basically fireproof for a year or two after we burn it. And so that makes it to where we can keep our crews out of the smoke. And then the last bullet there, minimizing mop-up needs. This is all about getting out on the unit, kicking around, making sure that we have adequate moisture in the soil. And so we're not going to catch that soil on fire, have our big logs catch on fire, things like that. We also look for a follow-up rain event after the prescribed burn. And so the ideal situation is you have the perfect moisture on the ground and then a follow-up rain 2 or 3 days later to where it can put that fire to bed and we don't have to have crews out there dealing with it for days, months, afterwards. Jumping to respirators and face protection. We do have Nomex shrouds that are available for staff, and so this is Brian Emanuel, our bureau chief that just got his 25-year award, wearing a shroud on the fire. And so you will see staff wearing these. Some staff like them, some staff don't. It's really a personal preference type of deal. They do protect against embers and heat. They have minimal protection for like particulate matter, and so that's something to keep in mind. The NWCG cautions that shrouds should only be worn in specific situations for limited times due to increase in physiological heat stress. And so our staff that are wearing these, we're making sure that they're not wearing them for the full day because it really adds up on the heat stress. Specific to respirators, to date, no wildland fire respirators have been approved by NIOSH, or the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, to protect against all inhalation hazards in wildland fire operations. The interagency standards for fire and fire aviation operations requires that NIOSH approval, so none are suitable for arduous fire line work currently. And so this snip here on the bottom right is from a safety bulletin published by NWCG's Risk Management Committee on September 2024 that cautioned against respirators on the fire line due to the increased risk of heat-related illness, dehydration, and reduced performance. And something to note as well in that SNP is it says further study is needed. And so we really are monitoring the research. There's a lot of attention on this subject right now, thankfully. And so, we're really watching and seeing if something new comes out that is great, for this. We're all about changing course. But right now we're sticking with the standards.
Thank you. Is that your report?
I've got more, but
Okay, no, please continue. Please
Okay.
continue.
All right. So jump into fire training. All participants on our burns require this basic wildland firefighter training, and so this is the basics on fire behavior, fire fuels, dealing with equipment, PPE, things like that. That basically gets you in the door. Our burn bosses, those that are calling and bossing the burns, they're required to attend prescribed burn manager training. This is a more in-depth class. You get a certificate. You're required to maintain that certification through practice as well as CEUs throughout the years. And then all staff are encouraged to attend additional fire trainings through the years. Fire is really complicated. Dealing with fuels and weather, that's complicated as well. And so you combine all these things together on the landscape, and it's a lifetime of learning. None of us know it all. And so we're really encouraging staff to continue that journey. On the right, that's our South Region's land manager, Johnny Baker, attending helicopter crew member training a short while back. And then beyond the formal training, we really encourage informal training as well. And so when we are conducting burns, we're making sure that we're putting our less experienced staff, coupling them with our more experienced staff so that they're able to hear why we're doing what we're doing in specific situations. And then we also conduct after-action reviews after every single fire that we do. And so after it's all said and done, we huddle up, go over what went right, what went wrong, and really make sure everyone speaks so that we're not missing anything after these fires. We also host a wildland fire safety training annual refresher at Sunny Hill Restoration annually. This is for our staff as well as some cooperators. In this training, we make sure that everyone that's working fires is familiar with fire shelters. We have practice shelters, and these are basically carried on us, and they're our last option if you found yourself in a really rough spot and you're trapped. You need to protect yourself. It's no guarantee, but it gives you a higher chance of survival from a passing fire front. And so make sure that everyone's familiar with how to deploy those in a timely manner. We also have presentations addressing specific hazards and safety concerns, so things like burning around power lines, that's tricky, and using chainsaws on fires, things like that. And then we also have a presentation every year on lessons learned from other agencies, and so this is going over incidents that have happened nationwide, including serious injuries, fatalities, and really taking a deep dive into those incidents and looking what led up to them and doing our best to prevent them from happening here, learning from them. Training and cooperation really dovetail nicely into one another. We cooperate with a lot of different agencies here in the state. This picture is a great example of a training that we had several years back, Engine Academy, and so you can see the blue helmets scattered throughout. That's our staff, both instructors and students in this class, and so that keeps our instructors sharp on the curriculum and then bring these new students along as well. Cooperation includes a lot of paperwork, and so we have quite a few MOUs, the biggest of which is that one on the left, the North Central Florida Prescribed Fire Working Group. Includes different agencies as well as NGOs. And these MOUs spell out what we expect from one another, and so we expect them to show up with the PPE and radios. We also don't expect to get a bill after we ask for help, and vice versa. So when we go to help other agencies, they know we're not going to bill them for that help. And so these MOUs have been very powerful for our program. We also have staff that are on the steering committees for the North and the Central Florida Prescribed Fire Councils. These councils are made up of researchers and practitioners in fire, and so hold annual meetings, and these meetings serve as the CEUs for our burn bosses to maintain their certifications. We also attend cooperator meetings with Rayonier and Weyerhaeuser and other agencies every year. These usually happen right before the peak or the beginning of wildfire season, like late winter, and make sure that we have each other's contact information, know who has what as far as equipment and personnel, and really sets the stage for the wildfire season to where we know those contacts prior to it starting. And beyond the paperwork and the meetings for cooperation, it's really nice to see that have an effect on the landscape. So we have a lot of burns where we use cooperators. A really good example of that was back in 2020, February 28th. Our burn bosses saw a stellar day in the forecast, and so started making calls to cooperators and got folks from Palatka Conservation Trust, Florida Forest Service, Flagler, Volusia County, DEP, and then we used contractors from Bird Dog, Fire and Land Management, Wildland Services, and had helicopters and pilots from HMC and Coastal all come to help us on that day. And so we managed to pull off 4 burns in 4 different counties for 3,500 acres without a hitch, and couldn't have been possible without our cooperators and contractors. So jumping next to staffing, and so I'll pass the mic to Mike.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mike Register, Executive Director. We had a request from the board to talk about the staffing within the area of land management, and I thought it'd be good to kind of put that in the context of the overall staffing. And so this is our staff levels through the years. You can see we were back at about 719 in 2010, 2011. That's when we went through the reduction in force, where we were trying to see how efficient, effective we could be with as least a staff as possible, and reduce staffing by about 128 positions during that time. Remained fairly stable till about 2015, 2016, and then over the next 7 years or so, reduced another 72 positions to get down to 519. Since 2021, we've tried to look at whether or not we'd cut too deep into some of these areas, and so we've added back positions. We've had needs in regulatory where permits have probably doubled over this time period or more. And also we've had additional lands, that we have been tasked with managing. So in 2022, we added 8 positions back, and in 2024, last year, we've added 18. We've tried to look at this in kind of a 2-year cycle so that if we do get new positions or make adjustments, we have time to incorporate those into the workforce and see how it's working out before we determine whether or not we need more or less. Also, whenever any vacancies happen throughout the district, we all take a look at that, determine is it still really needed to fulfill that function, or is there another place that has more dire need, and even if we can contract out, and I'll always look at all of those options before we just automatically fill positions. So I want to make sure y'all knew that we do have a process in place for doing that. The Bureau of Land Resources staffing kind of followed a similar trend, and you can see the big drop off there from 45 to 34 during the reduction in force that occurred. Slowly added back some positions to get up to 39, but then continued down again after 2015 and lost a few positions there. Since then, we've added 2 positions back during that 2022 addition, and then most recently we've added 3 positions back then, I'm sorry, and then recently as a part of our redirects and looking at positions as they become vacant, we've added another 2 positions back there. So they're currently at 41. As I mentioned, we'll continue as those positions are incorporated into the workforce within the Bureau. We will evaluate whether or not additional personnel are needed, also opportunities to do contract work. We had talked about that as a part of the burn program, but we need staff members to help manage those contractors. So it's not just where you can contract everything out. We still need in-house positions in order to be able to effectively utilize those contractors. So we continue to evaluate, and the latest update is just that we're adding those 2 positions back this year. And I believe that's all I have. If there's any questions on that or on Jeremy's work, we can certainly answer them.
I have a question, but let me go to my board members. Yes, sir, General?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, when I look at firefighting, it's kind of like combat. What's the overmatch? The other guy got the overmatch, or do you have the overmatch? And sir, that was, let me commend you on a most professional presentation. I see that at the 4-star level. That was good stuff. But the question becomes this, and I've asked it years ago, how are we on bulldozers? And let me first, if I may, Madam Chair, share a story. About 10 years ago, maybe, well, it was probably 20 years ago, one of our operators had a bulldozer, got stuck in the mud during a fire, flames changed, winds changed, and a National Guard fireman on a D8 drove through the flames, turned around, hooked up to our bulldozer. He got singed a little bit and got back on and pulled the bulldozer and our worker out because we only had one bulldozer there. Question becomes, do you have the overmatch, not just adequate to put out a fire, but if it gets out of control, do you need another bulldozer as a piece of equipment you would say would be nice to have but don't have to have? Because it comes to worker safety here, nice to have becomes have to have. Thank you.
All right, and what we're having staff in that bureau do is actually do an evaluation of the equipment needs now as a part of our overall planning effort. We were able to secure, I think recently we got a new fire truck that was delivered. But as you mentioned, one of the things we want to make sure that we have is, as you said, overmatched, to be able to have the equipment that's necessary so we don't have to necessarily haul it all over our district because we have a long spread out district of areas that we manage. So we want to have enough staged in the right areas so that we can respond quickly. And also, in case we do have, breakdowns or things like that, we want to have added capacity so that they have the ability to continue the work. As they've mentioned in some of their presentations, as kind of a, make hay while the sun is shining, but also, we need to burn when the conditions are good to burn. And so we want to make sure that they have adequate equipment. So I don't think I'm prepared to answer whether or not that's there right now, because we're having them go through that evaluation right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. And just remember, we don't want to meet 2 years from now after a big fire and one of our workers was harmed or worse because we didn't look at overmatch. It's not how much you got to have, it's how much you really need to have for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan?
Thank you. When you look at the last graph, if you want to throw it up, that'd be great. Basically, 2010, you're at 45 employees, and 2025, you're at 41 employees. But how much land have we increased from 2010 to 2025? I'd almost look at it as a ratio, like how many employees to how many acres do we own?
And
Because that's going to tell a different story, I think.
Right, and even when we had the 45 employees in there, we have many more acres per staff member than a lot of the other agencies do. So that's another thing that we've asked them to take a look at. Is it something that's needed to where we can balance the land management staff that we have at the district with contract work that could be done, to see if we can get those acres per person down a little bit more. Right now, it's at a fairly high level, but that is a good measurement. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's significantly higher in some of the other agencies that manage land. So they do a really good job, and you'll see that in the next presentation. And I think one of the comments that I'd heard, I don't know if it's in the presentation, was that we do really well with the resources that we have. And I think it really is a testament to the dedication of the staff within our land management group that they do such a great job with that high acres to staff ratio. But it's something that as we're looking at staffing overall through each areas of the district, this is one of the ones that we want to make sure that we're adequately staffed, because it's such an important and a key aspect of our mission, to take care of these lands.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other question? Yes, sir?
I think that's so important. We've been very lucky, Mike knows this well, that we've been through a 10-year cycle of pretty normal to wet averages all along the East Coast and through the central part of Florida. If we get a year like 2006, 7, and 8, where Lake O hit an all-time low of 8.85 feet and Brevard forests were burning, I remember that very well. In 2007, I think it was, the East Coast was on fire because we just didn't have any rain. We have a lot more people right on the edge of that now than we did back, 15 years ago. So the protection of those people and the resources is much more important today than it was just 15, 20 years ago. So I think it's really important. To the general's point, we need to have the ability to get people safe and to get on it quicker and faster than ever before. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mike, first of all, thank you, and Jeremy, thank you for that presentation. The safety of the staff and our team members are very important, not only to me, but I think the rest of our board. Just this past weekend, I forwarded an article to Mike, which was in Wall Street Journal addressing the safety of staff. So I was as I was listening to the conversation, I thought of something, Mike. Do you think for when we are really dealing with dangerous fires, that we can invest in robots?
I would have to turn to somebody more familiar with the industry to know that as to whether or not there's any kind of automated things. I know, conditions out there can change fairly quickly, so the human mind, is something that's hard to replace in those kind of instances.
Are you underestimating AI robots?
I'm a little worried about AI going around burning all our forests down. So, and we did just pass the Terminator date, I think, when whatever became self-aware this last year from the movies. So we made it through that okay. I want to make sure we continue. But we are looking at all options as far as taking advantage of the technologies that are there and monitoring, not only for that type of issue, but also any safety equipment, any safety practices. As you said, we feel the same way, that we want to make sure our staff are well taken care of. They have all the safety precautions that are available to them so that they're taken care of.
I feel that we ask our team members, our staff, to do more with less. So their safety is really important, and we want to do the best we can to provide that safety. I know you're on top of it, Mike, but I think technology is also really making huge progression. So it's something, to have it on the agenda, to look at and see if, when it comes, really in bad area, that we can use, robots. But that's something for you to consider. And, technology is a good thing most times.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am?
Follow up on the technology subject, and thanks for throwing a little credit out to Rainier and Weyerhaeuser, the large timberland owners in the north end of the state. I can tell you that they are very much working towards advancing technology and using that to leverage their ability to predict and get to fires before they turn into something bad. One in particular that that I saw was it was an app that you could put on your cell phone that you can enter fires and locate where fires are popping up. Actually nationwide, but they were using it regionally for the company I worked for. That and drones, being able to get that up in the air and have a bird's eye view of where the fires are, given the limitations of smoke and whatnot. So there's a lot out there that's sort of still being played with, and I would just encourage continued cooperative efforts and learn best practices, share best practices, and we'll all advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said. Jeremy, can you come back in if our chair agrees to come back in a couple of months and regarding the safety, to see what technologies are out there, how we can position ourselves, whether it's funding or legislatively, that we should consider. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Register. Okay, moving on to item number 6, Brent. Okay. Brent, you recognize, please state your full name and your position.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Brent Batchelder. I serve the district as a land resource specialist, also in the Bureau of Land Resources. Good to have an introduction
I knew
from.
not to pronounce your last name. I would have
Yes,
butchered it.
yes. We say Batchelder. It can be pronounced a few different ways, but thank you for that. Today, I'm pleased to report on land management review team activities for the time period of July 2024 to June of 2025. So, Section 373.591 of Florida statutes requires the establishment of management review teams to determine whether lands acquired for conservation, preservation, and recreation are managed in compliance with their approved land management plans. These review teams, also known as MRTs, are composed of representatives from stakeholder groups that are identified by statute and who have an interest in the management of district-owned properties. Review meetings are held on site on each property, and in addition to determining whether management practices are in compliance with their plans, we also incorporate any feedback from the management review teams into future land management planning documents and encourage MRT members to provide as much feedback as possible during these meetings. District staff working with our partners have conducted 7 MRTs over the past year, and the management areas reviewed, as shown on this map and the associated photographs, include Lake Jessup Conservation Area, managed by Graham Williams and staff, Emeralda Marsh Conservation Area, Ocklawaha Prairie Restoration Area, and Sunny Hill Restoration Area, all managed by R.H. Davis and staff, Murphy Creek Conservation Area and Duns Creek Conservation Area, which are managed by Tyler Mosteller and staff, and then Ralph E. Simmons Memorial State Forest, which is managed cooperatively by our partner agency, the Florida Forest Service. Review teams for the past review cycle included participation by 31 individual stakeholders, and these individuals represented 20 different stakeholder groups, including governmental and non-governmental organizations, and the logos for those organizations are shown on this slide. Importantly, MRTs also include our neighbors, private land managers, and landowners that are engaged in the conservation community. District staff, along with partners from local, state, and private entities, aided with MRTs through their facilitation and operational support. Through the management review season, stakeholders were put through a litany of experiences, and to give an idea of the effort that was put into these reviews, 255 objectives and tasks were assessed. About 40,630 acres of management area land was reviewed. 130 miles of management area roads were traversed. And most importantly, 267 pages of input were collected from stakeholders regarding these properties. So, in summary, what do stakeholders have to say about the district's land management program? Well, many of our stakeholders commend the hard work and achievements that district staff have had, and the quotes shown on the slide were collected from various management reviews over the past year. Among other things, MRT participants noted accomplishments by district staff in the areas of managing public access, conducting ecological restoration, and implementing forest management actions, including the prescribed fire program that Jeremy just spoke to. Consensus among all MRT stakeholders was that overall, the 255 management objectives we reviewed are being achieved by district land managers. And most importantly, management activities were found to be compliant with governing board approved land management plans. A wide range of specific suggestions and recommendations were also collected through the MRT process over the past year. This is the information that I talked about in the second slide, information we can include in future planning documents. And some of the recommendations we received included to continue and expand collaboration with partners, especially in the areas of restoration projects and outreach opportunities, continue to expand public recreational access and opportunities, continue our natural community restoration projects throughout the district, and increase biological resource monitoring. In summary, the conservation areas that were reviewed this past year were found to be compliant with their management plans, and district land managers are doing a stellar job. Our staff are recognized for their hard work by district stakeholders. And during the coming year, the conservation areas shown on this slide are scheduled for MRTs. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions or discussion you might have.
Thank you, Brent. Any question?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if you look at the Canaveral Marshes and Conservation Area, that makes Mr. Oliver very happy because it's yellow and purple, and he's an LSU fan. So I just wanted you to know that's a great backdrop if you ever need to schmooze him for something. Where some people like orange and blue.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how Mr. Register would feel about that.
I'm trying not to think about it this week after last week.
Well, I do have degrees from
Right call.
So this week's a little divided house.
Yes, sir. Ryan?
I noticed we don't have any of the universities participating in the MRTs. I think it'd be an awesome opportunity for young students to get involved. And the groups that are participating are looking for those future employees to come to the organizations. So it's like a win-win. The students get to learn something, they get to be involved in the process.
Great idea.
And future employers get to meet them. And I think it could be a really good opportunity. I don't know what that takes to coordinate, but I think it's...
No, this past year, it's interesting you bring that up because we did have some University of Florida folks that are involved with Ordway Swisher that were on our invitee list, and they had a kind of a change in staff, so they weren't able to participate. But that's a good recommendation. Definitely reaching out to not just students, but also extension staff and other faculty that might be available for these.
I think great comment. governing board member Atwood brought up, that getting all universities.
Yeah.
We love
We've got plenty of
Decatur's.
properties near UCF and
Yeah,
Orlando area we
UCF
can
has a great
include.
environmental engineering programs, Go Knights. I think this is a fantastic idea. Thank you for that, so we can work on it and elevate it.
Yeah, so we try to, broaden the scope as much as possible for the individuals that we include on these. So that's a great recommendation.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Brent. Appreciate it. No other questions, right? I didn't miss anybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item number 7, Mr. Chris Kinslow and Mary Ellen Winkler are recognized to present on this item, which is 2025-2035 Land Management Plan for the Pablo Creek Conservation Area located in Duval County, and adopt a resolution accepting the distribution of a portion of the residency estate of the Kernan or Hodges Revocable Trust. Chris, you recognized. So can you hold 1 second?
Yes.
Yeah, but Chris, if you don't mind, wait. General, you recognized.
Yeah, thank you. Not sure I go about this, but I flew Kernan Hodges' $25 million jet for 33 years, so I should not vote or opine on this. Is that okay, Counselor?
That's fine.
Okay. So I'll just watch this.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. Chris, please state your full name and your position.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Chris Kinslow, and I'm a Land Resource Specialist here at the district. It's my pleasure to present the 10-year land management plan for Pablo Creek Conservation Area. This is our first new conservation area since 2015, when Silver Springs Forest Conservation Area was added to our portfolio. The property's natural resources will be managed by the district, and the recreation will be managed by City of Jacksonville. Annually, the district will undertake several natural resource management activities, including prescribed fire, wildland fuels management, forest resource management, invasive species management, and culture resource management. The property will be managed by Tyler Mosteller, who's the North Region Land Manager, along with his staff of 4, Jim Godfrey, Mike Adams, Samuel Bennett, and Jack Crosby, in addition to 10 other properties across 6 counties. So for a broad view, Pablo Creek Conservation Area is the property in blue in the middle of the map. It's very much an island of conservation area in Duval County. There are some regulatory easements around it. Those are the red on the map. But the closest natural area is Sawmill Slough Preserve on University of North Florida's campus. But what makes Pablo Creek so special is that it fulfills all 4 of our core missions. The wetlands on Pablo Creek provide flood protection and surface water filtration. The uplands provide opportunities for groundwater recharge, and the natural systems will be maintained, restored, and enhanced utilizing our techniques that we, as Jeremy has pointed out, feel pretty confident with. Zooming in more, Pablo Creek Conservation Area is 2,722 acres, located entirely in Duval County. It's just west of Jacksonville Beach. As you can see from the aerial photograph, there's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of development that's around it. Even though areas to the south are undeveloped now, they are under development plans. So with the proximity to I-295, that's Butler Boulevard on our north boundary, and Hodges Boulevard intersects Butler Boulevard on our north boundary as well. There's a lot of challenges that we have to work within, particularly with smoke management from prescribed fire. But we are not this is challenges that we have in other areas and we accept well and have worked around very adeptly. Pablo Creek itself is this kind of centerpiece of the property, but several tributaries flow into Pablo Creek on the property itself, including Cedar Swamp Creek. To go along with the uniqueness of Pablo Creek Conservation Area, it has a unique acquisition history. It began in 1998 and continued through the year 2000, and these parcels were purchased initially as perpetual conservation easements. So these conservation easements essentially allowed the owner to sell the development rights to the district, continue to live on the property, continue to manage the property as they have. The unique part about it is because the purchase included the right to obtain the underlying full fee interest by the district at the passing of both owners. This occurred in 2022, and the district received title in December of 2024. The two southern parcels, Hodges 1 and 2, are now owned full fee by the district, and the northern parcel, Hodges 3, is jointly owned by the district and the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees for the Internal Improvement Trust Fund. City of Jacksonville was a contributor to the purchase of that northern parcel. The total purchase price for the conservation easements was $36,685,000. Now, what really makes Pablo Creek Conservation Area the gem that it is its diversity in natural communities. It has all three types of flatwoods that are found in Florida. Scrubby, which is pine overstory and low oak understory. Mesic flatwoods, which is pine and palmetto understory. And then wet flatwoods, which, as the name implies, gets seasonally inundated and sometimes a little bit more grassy. Beyond that, there is a substantial amount of relatively intact sandhill, which is becoming more and more rare in Florida. It's pine overstory with more of a grassy understory. All these natural communities combine to make wonderful habitat for a variety of plants and animals, including the federally threatened red cockaded woodpecker, which is shown here. This is one of the only clusters or colonies, populations of red cockaded woodpeckers along Florida's east coast all the way down to nearly West Palm. The closest population is by Camp Blanding and Osceola National Forest. So still about 60 miles away as the woodpecker flies, if you will. They have very exacting habitat requirements. First, they live in living pine trees, which is rare for any woodpecker to live in a living tree. And not just any living tree, a living pine tree, ones that exhibit a condition called heart rot, where the internal core, the dead wood, not the sapwood, starts rotting away. This generally only occurs in trees that are at least 80 years old. We cored trees on this property and found them to be on the upwards of 140 years old in several places. Again, very rare here in Florida. So they find these trees by sounding them. And then once they find one that has heart rot, they excavate through the living tissue. As you can see on the left hand, that's a cavity. Create their nest in the dead wood inside, and then use the living tree as a defense mechanism by pecking what are called sap wells around the bole of the tree, letting sap drain, and that prevents snakes and squirrels from climbing up the tree to predate their nest. So first, they need very old trees. And second, they're almost like Goldilocks, where they need an understory that's not too thick, but not too sparse to be able to forage, but also be able to evade predators. All this happens because of fire. Like the Florida scrub jay, like the bobwhite quail, they are a fire bird. The previous landowners did an excellent job implementing prescribed fire, just as indigenous people utilize fire, just as lightning shaped our ecosystems throughout Florida and the coastal South. Beyond the woodpeckers, there's gopher tortoises. There's more bobcats that I've seen in one place in Florida on this property, and there's even threatened and endangered plants with names like little brown jug, Florida toothache grass, and cranefly orchid, all present on the property. It's amazing, and we're happy to be able to manage it. It's not without alteration. There is an old pasture up here that was for like horse paddock area. And something that I want to call your attention to is that there's about a mile-long ditch that was dug by the previous owner's father in the late 60s and 70s. I'll get to that here in a second as far as our expenses in the future. So recreation, again, City of Jacksonville will be taking the lead with consultation with the district. This is a similar arrangement that we have at Julington Durban Preserve, as well as Thomas Creek Conservation Areas, both in Duval County. We'll be putting in 6 miles of trails, mainly using existing trail systems. There's a 3/4 of an acre parking area at the intersection of Hodges Boulevard and Butler Boulevard. That parking area will be open from sunrise to sunset daily. In addition to the trail system, which will be multi-use, hiking, biking, horseback riding, there will be a picnic shelter utilizing an existing equipment shed at that center, by that center pond on the property, as well as an overlook at the intersection of Trail Terminus and the Pablo Creek itself, overlooking that beautiful vista of the marsh there. The property will host a security resident, like several of our other conservation areas, and that is a law enforcement officer that stays on site. They have a regular job. They have their day job as a law enforcement officer, but in exchange for their presence, they'll be living at a house that's about 1,600 square feet by that horse pasture up there. And while they aren't there 24/7, they do provide a presence, and also in case there is an incident, they'll provide situational awareness to the first responders on site. Here's our projected expenses for the next 10 years. Some of them are tantamount to startup costs, initial expenses, one time only, particularly building a bridge across Pablo Creek. Right now there's a dirt causeway that has some substantial culverts on, looking to make it a little bit more permanent, as well as filling in that ditch that I mentioned before with the natural communities area. Also, site cleanup, improving that house, improving some of our facilities that are there. There are more typical land management practices that are on this expense sheet as well. Prescribed fire, invasive species management, road maintenance, things like that. There is no revenue shown. There are not, generally a property like this, revenue would be derived from timber sales. This property doesn't have any pine plantations, so we can't necessarily use a rule of thumb to estimate. So what we'll be doing within the span of the plan is conducting a timber stand assessment, working those numbers into our harvest plan, and if there are any needs for timber stand improvement, we'll enact those utilizing those numbers. Anything that we do is very ecologically forestry based, as well as we'll be utilizing the habitat requirements for the red-culcated woodpecker, melding those into any of our forest actions. They do like they don't mind thinning at all. They like a pretty open stand. But I say that as far as revenue, there's not the only revenue source that we'll be getting. Mary Ellen will speak on more details on the resolution that's before you and the bequest from the Hodges family.
Chris,
Yes,
hold
ma'am.
on one second.
Yeah, sure.
I have a couple of questions. for
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
You said 6 miles of trails. Is that a paved trail?
It is dirt trails,
Dirt.
which is the same as our typical our trail systems.
Understood. And is it light there, or?
It is relatively open. There are some shady sections, but there's no artificial light, if that's what you're saying. As far as the parking area or the trail system itself?
I mean, trails, the trail and the picnic area.
There are no artificial lights on any of the system. There is some by the parking area, basically street lights, right?
That's it. And when you talk about safety, I might have missed it. You said there is someone there all the time?
There is not.
There is not.
There is not. And that is typical for our conservation areas.
Okay, can you hold,
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish up.
Yeah.
So the person that is there during evenings?
It depends on their
Okay.
schedule, because in my past experience as a land manager, we had security residences that were FWC officers. So sometimes they'd be there on the weekend when they'd have off. Sometimes they'd be there during the day and they'd work a night shift. So it varied.
Wow. So for a general public to go there, really they can't count on the safety because maybe they're there, maybe they're not. That's pretty much, unless they have to check to see if somebody's there or not.
As far as
I think it's managed just like most of our properties that we
Yeah.
open for recreation. So it's basically our part of it is keeping it open, keeping the trails maintained, keeping that, but it's still a natural area that,
Yeah.
anybody's welcome to do. The security residences are there for added security, especially, you have to worry about that during the night. Sometimes people coming, dumping stuff, doing other things. And so it's valuable for us to have law enforcement or FWC officers living there on the property because their presence is known and that is a deterrent in itself. But as far as, security and anything like that, it's pretty much like all our other properties where it's just, we maintain an access point and the trails for people to use.
So, Mike, in general, I've always had hesitation because of that. So I get it, to have somebody there, to have the property is good, but for public to go in actually on a steady pace, on a regular basis, we can't say that we provide security.
Right, we don't claim.
We don't claim that.
We don't claim that we provide security at any of our
All right.
facilities.
Okay, let me go to general.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm familiar with every square foot of that property. Do you plan to take out the 7,000-foot runway on the east end of what you show there outlined in blue on slide 6? Yeah.
So-
on the very right edge, you see a little hook at the top. That's the hangar.
Right.
And then that long thing is the 7,000-foot runway.
So
And
th-
it's hardened to hold 727s.
it is not our property. So that was excluded from there, and it has been sold to another entity. We do own a hangar, the one that the Dassault Falcon lived
There's
in.
2 hangars up there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we just own the jet hangar.
The other one's jet too. It's just a small.
Yeah, it's a
jet.
smaller one. Yeah, not the.
Okay. That is one prime choice of property, Adam.
That's interesting.
George's work on the environmental piece, I won't tell you all the animals that's on there. Some of them a little rare, but
Yeah.
boy, he has been extremely sensitive the 33 years I flew for them on protecting that land environmentally. And he's a developer, so.
Yeah,
That's a
this is
beautiful.
pristine. It really is.
it's really amazing.
Thank you, General. Any other questions for Chris? Thank you.
Thank you.
As far as the recreation on there, on the proposed trails, is it possible to allow horseback riding on
Yes, sir.
those as well?
Yes,
Like we do on all of our
it'll
properties?
be, yes, sir. It'll be that same hiking, biking, horseback riding. Yes, sir.
And location-wise, it's just magnificent. So, thank you all. Mary Ellen. you're
Thank you, Madam.
recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the governing board. As Chris mentioned earlier, we had a unique transaction here where we had a conservation easement, and then upon the passing of Mrs. Hodges, we were at that point, we had a right of first refusal, and we exercised that right for $1 to obtain full fee. At that time, we were made aware, we did not know before that, but at that point, we were made aware when she passed that she remembered us in her trust. In fact, there were three entities that were designated to receive whatever was remaining in the trust after bequests were made to friends and families and other persons. We have been told at this point that our share of the residuary of the trust is approximately $7 million. The trust is for the person or entity that is to manage the lands, and in that case, that would be the district. So I put language from the actual trust on the slide, but basically, there were two other entities and whoever maintained this property going forward as recipients of the residuary. So that has been determined to be the district. And there is a significant condition on receiving the funds, and that is the second bullet, that we agree to preserve and maintain the lands in their natural state in perpetuity. To kind of put some meat on the bones of what that means, we worked with the successor trustee in drafting the resolution that is in your board packet. And what that does is kind of put some meat on the bones of what does natural state and perpetuity mean. And so what that means is the bulleted items that as part of our work at the property, we will use the funds to maintain, improve and restore natural communities, protect water quality and quantity, maintain and control invasive plants and animals, develop the capital facilities necessary to provide security and protection of what's out there, preserve natural and cultural resources. There was one thing that that's allowed to construct because generally we're not allowed to use the funds for public access and recreation, but the successor trustee is allowing us to construct an overlook at Pablo Creek, and we're requesting that the board authorize us to name it the George and Kernan Hodges Overlook in recognition of this bequest and their gift to us. So that's the one exception. There's also a request that the successor trustee is working to do some cleanup of the estate. I think they're hoping to have the estate, everything done by the end of this year. And there's one home where a member of the family, they'd like to sell a home to a member of the family. And we were fine with that. And in the resolution, it requests that we waive that conflict. But other than that, really, that's what the resolution does. It accepts this gift from the Hodges family, which we're very grateful for. I would like to acknowledge the successor trustee, who has been very gracious and worked with us on both the land management plan, he has amazing historical knowledge of the property, and then again, working with us on this resolution to kind of help us understand what the parameters of what the funds can be used for. So just wanted to say thank you to the successor trustee for working with us. And so with that, we would ask for your approval of both the land management plan and the resolution accepting the bequest. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have one more question from Chris. Let's go back to that budget.
Sure.
Okay, when I see public outreach, you have $1,000 for 10-year plan?
Yes.
$1,000, and the public outreach is really important for the public to know. What is that program that it would cost you $1,000?
It's essentially the staff time for the management review team that Brent put together.
$1,000 for $10. That's $100 a year.
Right. So it only occurs every 5 years, the MRTs. So staff time for that.
It's basically the management review team meeting that they talked about in one of the earlier items. It's categorized under public outreach, but it's staff time conducting that management review team of the property to make sure that we're meeting all the goals of it. And so we budget that in, as one of the costs to the district.
The city of Jacksonville advertised this property for public to go enjoy it or not? Is that,
I think they plan on having it included as a part of their portfolio, to list out opportunities within Jacksonville for recreation on public lands.
And Madam Chair, I just wanted to what Mike was saying. It's going to be a little bit, I don't want to, it's going to take us a year or two probably to get the property opened. As Chris alluded to, there's some structures out there that need some attention and some work to be done. The parking lot needs to be built. So I didn't want anyone to think they could leave here and go out to the property. It's going to take a little bit of time for us to make it secure and safe for the public. So it'll be some months before we get all that ready.
Mary Ellen, is it
Yes, ma'am.
1 year or 2 years? It's a big difference.
Probably, yeah,
I would
2
say,
years.
I would
yeah.
say it's going to take 2 years.
Yeah.
There's structures that have to be taken down.
Yeah.
There's the house that has to be renovated for the security residence, which we want that to happen. And there's some other attractive nuisances that are on the property that we want to make sure are safely removed so that people don't wander in the wrong place and get in trouble.
Mike, can you bring this back at a later date to see how we're doing with
Yeah,
this?
we could give you regular updates. on
Thank
this
you.
stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Thank you, Chris. So with that, board members, do we have a motion for item number? So moved. Okay, and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Formal discussions? No? There being no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 8. Ms. Suzanne Archer, you're recognized. Please state your full name and your position with the district.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and Governing Board members. Suzanne Archer, Technical Program Manager for Agricultural Assistance, here to present agenda item number 8. Here are the eligibility requirements for the TCAA Cost Share Program. If you travel along State Road 207 south of Hastings, you may have seen these signs on both sides of the road. L&M Farms, one of our growers, provides fresh produce to Winn-Dixie and Walmart. Pictured here are Larry Korn in the center, his farm manager Nicholas, and Haley Hayes, the newest member of our ag team. While the district has funded the TCA Water Management Partnership Cost Share Program since 2014, we recently received a water quality improvement grant from DEP to continue to focus on water quality and supply improvements in the lower St. Johns Basin, and the grant will be used to fund the projects before you today. The projects for which we are requesting approval are shown on the map marked with red stars within the lower St. Johns Basin. 2 of the projects are for precision fertilizer application equipment. There's a project to convert from seepage to irrigation drain tile, and a 4th project to purchase and utilize an artificial intelligence controlled sprayer. One of our growers recently trialed a demonstration sprayer powered by artificial intelligence and for which we are seeking funding approval today. Cameras on the underside of the sprayer recognize over 1 million images of crops and weeds in real time as the sprayer passes over them. A bank of nozzles can be programmed to either completely avoid the crop when weeds are targeted, or the nozzles can recognize the crop and only apply liquid fertilizer directly onto the plant and nowhere else. If you look closely, you may be able to see the nozzles over the corn plants applying fertilizer and the nozzles over the bare ground remaining closed. The picture on the left shows the machine programmed to apply fertilizer only to the target plant. You can see where one of the corn plants there in the middle did not germinate, and there's no blue dye on the ground because the nozzles turned off. Typically, the fertilizer would have ended up on the ground with no roots to take it up. The grower told us he's covering about 25% of the area as opposed to the entire area he would have done previously. The picture in the center shows the machine programmed to only apply herbicide to the weed. Typically, the entire area would be sprayed instead of just the weeds. While reducing pesticides is not one of our core missions, the grower told us he uses far less water to tank mix the chemical, and over the course of the season would save a substantial amount of water normally used to apply products to the crop. The picture on the right shows the machine. The machine has to be pulled at 3 to 4 miles per hour, which is much slower than normal, because the cameras need to be able to scan the area and the computer needs to access its database and make a decision on whether to spray or not. The resource benefits of the 4 projects are shown on the slide. These benefits are calculated on BMP efficiencies, the soil type, and University of Florida recommended fertilizer rates for each crop produced on the project area. The requested action on agenda item number 8 is approval for the executive director to negotiate and execute a cost-share contracts as shown on the slide.
Thank you. Ms. Winkler, do we have any public comment cards?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. Board members, do we have a motion? Second. Okay, and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? No? Yes, sir.
Agriculture at work.
That's for sure. Technology, I mean, I was just looking at it as, I need to see it in person. I need to touch it. That's for sure. No further discussions. All in favor, say aye. And any opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9. Lou, please state your full name, your position, and you're recognized.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Lou D'Angelo, Cost Share Program Manager in the Bureau of Basin Management and Project Development. Today, I'll be presenting an item for consideration to approve 10 no-cost time extensions. The number of extensions requested reflect a change in our business practice, where all new contracts are set to expire at the end of the fiscal year. As I go through these items, these requests, you'll see that a majority of them are first-time requests, and they are close to completion. They just need a little more time. The first 4 projects are water supply projects located in each of our water supply planning regions. The first project is JEA H2O Purification Demonstration Facility. The project schedule was impacted by multiple weather delays. In addition, the requested extension includes time required to ensure compliance with new permitting rule criteria. And this is for potable reuse projects, which is fairly innovative, and we have to have that prior to project startup. The project's approximately 80% complete. JEA is requesting a 9-month no-cost time extension to June 30th, 2026. The Vero Beach Canal to Irrigation Project is a phased project. The first phase involved water quality treatment of canal water that went into the Indian River Lagoon. That phase is complete. The current phase is to construct the reclaimed water main to distribute treated canal water from its Vero Beach's wastewater treatment plant to Johns Island for irrigation. Although the project received a previous extension, construction is progressing well and is 90% complete. However, the city has experienced delays in procuring materials to complete the final system tie-ins. And I just talked to Rob Bolton today, and he says they've received those parts, so that's good news. Therefore, the city is requesting a 6-month no-cost time extension to March 31st, 2026. I have a good news item related to the next project. Sunshine Water Service has constructed the replacement of their existing Upper Floridan aquifer water supply well with a new Lower Floridan aquifer well. The district was notified Friday of last week that this project is complete. Once the district's site visit confirms construction completion, no extension will be required. And I would like to give kudos to Sunshine Water Services for their hard work in bringing this project in on schedule. The next project's Orlando Utility Commission Water Conservation Program, Phase 2. This is a continuation of a completed Phase 1 toilet to smart irrigation rebate program. Staff reassignments at Orlando Utility Commission caused a delay of 2 rebate programs being released. The Orlando Utility Commission is therefore requesting a 9-month no-cost time extension to June 30th, 2026. The next 5 projects are water quality projects located in selected strategic planning basins. The City of Hawthorne is a ready community. The Hawthorne project consists of the rehabilitation of an existing packaged wastewater treatment facility, tankage, and associated components. The construction is progressing well. However, the project experienced initial delays because the bids were coming in higher, and it required them to do some value engineering and negotiate with the awarded contractor. Therefore, the city is requesting a 6-month, no-cost time extension to March 31st, 2026. St. Johns County project consists of the upsizing of an existing reclaimed transmission main on State Road 16 and County Road 2209. And they're also going to construct a 2 million gallon reuse storage tank. The pipe sizing on County Road 2206 is complete. The work is ongoing on the upsizing of the reclaimed main on State Road 16. And the construction of the ground storage tank will complete at the end of this month. Construction's progressing well, and I just found out from Tony Cubbage, who's here in the audience, that they're at 72% complete. Due to unforeseen delays in securing the necessary right-of-way permit, St. Johns County was unable to complete the project as scheduled and therefore is requesting a 6-month, no-cost time extension to March 31st, 2026. The City of West Melbourne Septic to Sewer Project eliminates 106 residential septic tanks, providing water quality benefits to the Indian River Lagoon. The construction was at 25% complete when the assigned contractor went bankrupt and terminated construction activity. The City of West Melbourne has worked with their bonding agent and has selected a new contractor to finish the project. The city is therefore requesting a 24-month, no-cost time extension to September 30th, 2027. The next project, West Melbourne project, was delayed because the contractor bids were much higher than the original cost estimate. To lower costs, the city had to rebid the project and perform value engineering to find ways to reduce expenses. The City of West Melbourne is therefore requesting a 24-month, no-cost time extension to September 30th, 2027. And I'd like to just point out, as we've seen in past extension requests, cost escalation is reoccurring. And this has delayed projects and caused the need for longer extensions, especially on larger construction efforts. The Leesburg-Navoda pilot study has been delayed due to unforeseen maintenance needs and a sequence batch reactor basin where the media was to be installed. All construction activity has been completed and the media placement occurred last month. Testing and evaluation is required in the next several months, and the City of Leesburg is therefore requesting a 9-month, no-cost time extension to June 30th, 2026 to complete this study. The last project, the City of Fellsmere State Street Reservoir Expansion, is a flood control project located within the Indian River Lagoon, Upper St. John's Strategic Planning Basin. Again, the City of Fellsmere is one of our ready communities. The State Street Reservoir Expansion experienced delays due to permitting. All permitting related issues have been resolved and the permits have been obtained. The city has selected a contractor and is prepared to move forward with this project. The city is requesting a 6-month, no-cost time extension to March 31st, 2026. And that brings me back to the item for consideration before you. I have representatives from our car share partners here with us today, should you have any questions of them or myself.
Lou, thank you. Great presentation. But you do know when we talk about no-cost extension, it's going to cost. Just the fact that you are extending the dates is going to cost more.
Right.
But I also understand that the building, whether it's roads or our projects here, it's just a lot of, they face a lot of obstacles with contractors or other ones. Are you going to continue monitoring these projects?
Absolutely.
Or is that, but there is a monitoring that you are considering projects that are, I call it at risk because they are extending?
Yeah, we contact our partners every 2 weeks to get an update.
Great.
We put a board report out every month
Okay.
to keep the board abreast of the situation on each one of these projects. So
Thank
we
you,
are
Lou.
quite active.
Let me, before I go to my colleagues, let me see if there is any public comment card.
We only have comment cards from the cost share recipients in case there were questions, but no other public comment.
Thank you. Okay, board members, any question, comments? Yes, sir?
Madam Chair, if you can turn the slide back to West Melbourne and the septic tank. Go back one more, I think, right there.
Yeah.
This conversation has nothing to do with this project, but the project's an example, so I'm in favor of the extensions, no problem. But if you think about it, 106, I just did 100, into our $1 million that we gave, basically, that's $11,000 a septic tank that we're chipping in to fix. Plus they're putting another 7 million in, maybe there's something else out there. But at some point, we as a board should set a standard of what we think is a fair number for septic tank renovation, just as a level of service type thing philosophically. Because to me, 11,000, if it was on the side of the Silver Springs tributary and it's going to affect the thing, maybe we go 11,000, maybe we don't. But, and I'm not picking on West Melbourne, I'm just using the project as an example. But in this scenario, right, well, and probably their main will be doing something else besides this, so it doesn't really make a difference. But it seems like we should set up a level of service, and classify a standard septic tank replacement versus a fancy spring septic tank replacement, et cetera, at some point. But that's my babbling conversation, but it's not really for this project. I did a calculation, I was like, whoa, dude.
I think that's really interesting. Lou, what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, the way the program's structured now, we're just the gatekeeper. The projects go to the department for consideration of funding. So there's no longer ad valorem dollars associated with the cost share. But we can put that recommendation to the department.
Well, I think it's more or less a way. My thought is it's more or less a way that we discuss which septic tank abandonment projects we kick into, because there's certainly a priority. And obviously certain cities have their own priorities, but I would rank something on a spring a higher priority than something on a hill, et cetera. But, it has nothing to do with this project. And with that, I don't know if there's any other commissioners that want to talk about it, but I'm totally okay with making a motion to accept the 10 extensions and move on from there. I just wanted to point out the loading thought process.
Before you make a motion, let me see if anyone, Doug, you look like you have a question or comments.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
I do have a comment, if
Sure.
I can.
It's open for discussion.
We've discussed this ad nauseum, but it's the biggest issue for water quality. We have more septic tanks in this peninsula than any other state in the United States, and it's a huge problem. And I learned early on when they did the Big Pine Key study, and it was 44 minutes from a house in Big Pine Key for its flush to get into the canal at Big Pine Key. And I was there that weekend when the study came out from South Florida Water Management District. It's a matter of minutes that it arrived intact with everything that went in that toilet arrived in that canal system that quickly. So all over Florida, we have this issue, and it's like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and it's going to be expensive. and it's going to be slow and costly and from stem to stern. There's no easy way out of this. And to Ron's point, you got to think about where is the money best spent? It's our springs and the closest ones to, key water bodies.
Exactly.
It's a difficult scenario and an expensive scenario. At the Indian River Lagoon Council, we wrestle with this on every meeting almost. And where do you spend limited resource dollars to do the most good to protect the lagoon and the St. Johns River system? It's a tough one, and I'm sure the staff has thought of this, but how do you best spend it and prioritize it with DEP? We just don't have enough money. Period.
Thank you, Doug, for that. Let me go to Chris.
Yeah, Doug, to your point. We don't permit these, obviously, but they're still going in. And I wish there was further review or further restrictions in where we put them so we don't have to spend all this money taking them out in the future. I wish we just had better requirements on if and where and how they're appropriate, not on a whole quarter-acre subdivision. Everybody gets a septic tank because they don't have the transmission lines quite close enough to be affordable, but then we turn around and do very expensive projects, converting them when they become problems and are getting into our water system. So, I always say, it's a lot cheaper up front to do it right than it is later on to have to deal with them. But also to your point, we've got a lot of them right now. They're there, and the cost is high, but necessary to keep our waters clean. So.
Thank you, Chris. But I think that's what Ron was saying. We need to take a hold of what the cost is so we can start programming, kind of like a automation of the price. It's going to be within this range. I think that's a good idea. I think we should look at it because a lot of our lakes and springs are suffering because of that.
Sure, and we discussed, I've talked to the executive director about this, not to put him on the spot, so breathe in, breathe out, Mike. But, when we do a new consumptive use permit for a new city, that city's growing, and they're wanting more gallons to suck out, well, we need to tell them, hey, you need to have more gallons to treat.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be, it's not a moratorium. We're saying grow, baby, grow in some respects, but grow efficiently and don't put more septic tanks in the ground, especially like where there's a bunch of lakes around there, et cetera. So I think that's something we could do as sort of like a lot of times cities and governments will have sort of goals, and one of our goals could be, hey, no moss water unless you have moss sewage, And so there's some logics with that. I'm not saying we should do that, and we're chasing a different topic, but it was just a point to point out at some point.
Great points. Thank you. Let's, Chris.
When we do approve these cost shares, we do look at the criteria. When we have X number of dollars, we have X number of projects that come up, and we do rank them. We do look at the cost per pound for phosphorus and nitrogen, and so these have been approved. These prices was the best, whatever it was at the time, the best 15 projects we could afford with the money we had allocated. So this is just for saying they didn't get it done in time, and there's a lot of good reasons why some of these projects do get stalled. So anyway, I'm in favor of just moving this forward. But
absolutely.
Yeah, we are.
Absolutely.
We are, Chris, but we have a good dialogue because what I think Ron brought up a really good point, accompanied by Doug's comments that to get a hold of these, and then also the time extension means dollars, means delay, means less. So I'm glad that Lou is monitoring, and maybe we can talk about projects in general and issues that you all are dealing with contractors and other issues. So, but thank you. So is there any further discussions? There being no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
No, this was a good discussion. Thank you, Ron. Moving on to item number 10, Ms. Winkler, do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Chris Farrell with Audubon, Florida.
No, I didn't see Chris. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Yeah, he moved his seat further back. Hi, Chris. First of all, thank you very much for your kind email. I appreciate it.
Hey, Chris Farrell with Audubon, Florida. You have to sit way in the back. You're drawing a crowd. It's good. So good. I don't even know what time it is. Morning, afternoon.
Still morning.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I wanted to say a couple things. Hodges, thank you so much to the Hodges family and for the district taking this on. That is an incredible piece of property. I was supposed to be on that land management review, and at that same exact time, we had some events where we looked like we might lose some part of the Guana Wildlife Management Area, and I was pulled away to do some other work for a few days. Now I got to wait 2 years to get out there, see those red cockaded woodpeckers. But yeah, it is a really unique property, has a lot of species that are not very common in the area, and so close to the urbanizing areas in Jacksonville. It's really nice to have that property there. So I look forward to seeing that. Really quick mention: we love seeing the ag projects lowering pesticide use, lowering water use, lowering fertilizer use. I will say, and we've been talking about technology today, I saw a very similar setup, but they were using lasers to blast the weeds and not even any pesticides. So I don't know, maybe that'll be in the next round of projects, but that looked pretty cool. We have coming up a steering committee meeting for the CFWI, and I wanted to mention one thing to think about with all of our water conservation needs and development. Irrigation, I'll put that out there as the number one thing. When you look at like the Central Florida Water Initiative area, they need like 96 MGD as their shortfall. We put 320 to 450 MGD of outdoor irrigation. Reducing that number, somewhere around 30%, reducing the amount of outdoor irrigation where we just have sprinklers hitting away on St. Augustine grass on yards, which, as we're having to prioritize, there's a lot of talk about, with the septic tanks and how much money we're spending. And, we have to be very careful about how we're spending money and resources as Florida continues to grow. And just having huge areas of irrigation with potable, treated drinking water in many cases is really something we should move away from, and it would get us so much water. It dwarfs the amount of water that we're short for future development if we could just use some of that irrigation water. And on the septic tanks, I'll just quickly mention, I know in this last year or so, we've been working on rulemaking with DEP about advanced on-site treatment. There's some concerns. We have to make sure that they work the way that they're planned to work. But being able to use some of those distributed systems where we can't connect people to sewer service, but they're, supposedly and hopefully they're going to be much higher performing than septic tanks. That's probably technology we need to, look more into.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Ms. Winkler, do we have any other comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Items 11 through 24 were approved on the consent agenda. So moving on to Ms. Preston, you're recognized to provide an update for litigation items.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I have 3 new cases to report on today and 1 update. The first new case is Edward C.C. versus the district and 3 individual staff members. This is a case that's been filed in the federal court for the Middle District of Florida. We received a notice of a complaint and the request to waive service of process, which is required by the federal rules, on August 29th. These claims relate to an environmental resource permit that authorizes a stormwater management system in Flagler County, and that package is under review right now. The second new case is a residential mortgage foreclosure that the district was named in. It's filed in Duval County Circuit Court. We believe, based on our review, that the plaintiff likely included the district as a party in error. So we've been working with the plaintiff's firm to get that taken care of and resolved and to get them to dismiss the district as a party. The last set of cases relate to third-party challenges to an environmental resource permit that authorizes a stormwater management system in Lake County that was issued to Hennon Holdings, LLC. So that party, as well as the district, are parties to this administrative challenge. The first petition was filed by a group of residents, Gary Custer, Louise Chen, Alan Chen, Ray Hayden, and Lisa Hayden, filed August 13th and then amended on August 25th. By statute, we have to refer the amended petition to the Division of Administrative Hearings if it substantially complies with the pleading requirements in the Uniform Rules of Procedure. That likely will be accompanied by a substantive motion to dismiss or strike if it's necessary. That's the first petition. The second petition is anticipated because Lake County filed a petition for extension of time to file a petition to challenge that permit on September 2nd. That petition is currently under review. So those are the three new cases. I have one update on an existing third-party challenge to environmental resource permit for a stormwater management system in Volusia County. This is Amber Boback versus Sun State Petrol, LLC, and Circle K Stores and the district. It is before the Division of Administrative Hearings, and that final hearing is set for 2 days next week. That'll be September 15th and 16th by Zoom. So this concludes my report.
Thank you, Erin. Appreciate it. Any board members, do you have comments, questions? Yes, Ryan.
Is it common for people to sue our employees? Personally?
In the last couple of years, we've had 2 folks who have included individual staff members. I would say it's something that I've seen before. It's not super common. We just have a couple of folks who have included district staff as employees. For the most part, I will say in general, not speaking about the merits of either of the case, but actions that were taken by staff members in their official capacities are, for the most part, generally dismissed because they're improperly pleaded.
That's what I would hope to hear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions in general? No? That's all good. Okay, moving on to item number 7, to Mr. Register, comments and schedule. First of all, Mr. Register, my sincere thank you for my beautiful pen. I wear it with very proud and with a lot of joy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think my colleagues also appreciate that we finally got it. So, would you like to have any, share with us any report you have, calendar? So,
all right, thank
you're
you.
recognized.
We can go ahead and go to the first slide. We wanted to congratulate Jim Peterson, who was recently honored by the Orlando Sentinel Scott Maxwell as one of the 10 people who make Orlando a better place. For more than 30 years, Jim has dedicated his career to restoring and protecting Lake Apopka. His commitment and expertise have made a lasting impact on the lake and the community that surrounds it. He's currently, as you're well aware, serves as our basin coordinator for the Ocklawaha River Basin, and we're proud to celebrate his recognition as an environmental hero and a true example of public service.
Yeah. Very cool.
He's the one right there on the bar, who you see sitting in the red dress. Next slide. District staff, here's your Go Knights moment. Recently hosted the University of Central Florida students for the UCF Knight Shadow Program, inspiring the next generation of leaders in engineering and water resource management. Students spent the day with our leadership engineers, regulatory professionals, getting a behind-the-scenes look at how we protect Florida's water resources and manage real-world engineering projects and compliance. They've also built valuable connections, experienced a true day in the life of our work, and gained insights to strengthen their resumes for future opportunities, hopefully with the district. Next. The district has also been recognized as the Safety and Risk Management Department of the Year by the Preferred Governmental Insurance Trust, chosen from more than 100 eligible organizations across Florida. The award highlights the district's leadership in workplace safety and risk management with consistent reduction in workplace accidents. Key accomplishments include expanded staff training and proactive safety initiatives led by risk manager Joe Lambert there on the right and risk management coordinator Greg Rawson there on the left. Next. On August 27th, we celebrated the graduation of our second Leadership Discovery cohort. So far, 40 district staff have completed this program, which focuses on servant leadership, helping staff strengthen their team and advance the district's mission as we're trying to prepare for that next generation of leaders to move into leadership roles here at the district. Our final budget hearing, as far as schedule goes, is scheduled for next Monday, September 15th at 5:05 here at the district. We will make attending via Teams or telephonically available to those that can't make it. And then our next governing board meeting is scheduled for October 14th here at district headquarters.
Thank you. I wanted to say something when Ms. Preston was making presentation that there was a young intern. I never met him, but I heard so many good things and how much the young man enjoyed working for you. And he is at UF in law school. His name is Arman.
Arman, and you looked at me and the last name just escaped my
Yes.
brain.
Tabassian.
Yes, that's right.
But I got a note that he absolutely loved working for us. So thank you very much for what we do for all the interns, especially this other group from UCF. Mr. House, would you like to say go nights, or would you like me to do it?
You say go Knights, I'll say charge on.
I'll say go nights.
Charge on.
Thank you. And I really don't want to be between you and lunch. So no further discussion and no objection. I now adjourn our meeting.